Today, we're going to find out if putting a lawnmower engine in a 55-year-old French car is a practical solution. And what I mean by that is, will the little lawnmower engine have enough power to take a family of 4 on a French holiday right here in Kansas? You see, the performance of this car is pretty good considering it's powered by a 2-cylinder engine from Harbor Freight, but how much will the performance suffer if we add additional weight to the car? So, let's fill the car with my family and we'll find out just how bad this car is. Wait, put actual people in this car? Maybe that's not such a good idea. Actually, it's a horrible idea to put more people in this car. You see, this car ain't exactly safe. Let me introduce you to my other family, which, aside from Jackie, I really don't care about. Starting from left to right, we have my lovely wife, Sandy. Now, I've been with Sandy since we met at Ashroken Beach on Long Island way back in the day. Now, Sandy's made of true grit, and it's not polite to ask a woman how much she weighs, but Sandy's proud of her weight, and she tips the scales at 120 pounds. Next, we have my boy Rocky. Now, Rocky's a chip off the old block in more ways than one. Actually, if you count, Rocky is 1,758 chips of river-washed rock. Rocky's no lightweight, and you're looking at 196.5 pounds of him, which is ironically only 14 stone and some bizarre imperial measurement. And lastly, we have my beautiful daughter Jackie. When Jackie came into my life, it was the most uplifting experience I ever had. Anyway, Jackie's a lot heavier than she looks, and all in, Jackie's a grand total of 133.8 pounds. Now, let's not forget the family dog. Don't let those floppy ears fool you. This one's a real predator. Anyway, Predator weighs in at 34.4 pounds. So that's my family, sort of. And together we'll be taking a French holiday in this vintage Renault that's powered by a lawnmower engine. And since I ain't never been to France, I reckon rural Kansas is pretty much the same. Now, if we tally up all the weight, we're looking at an additional 484 pounds we'll be adding to the already heavy 1,600-pound French automobile. Keep in mind, I'm not including myself because, well, all the performance data we've collected so far is with the weight of the car plus the driver. But if you want to keep track of all the numbers, the car weighed exactly 1,580 pounds when we had it weighed last summer. Add the driver, and now we're at 1,800 pounds, give or take a few Big Macs. Next, add the ballast we plan on stuffing into the car, and the grand total the little 670cc Predator engine has to move is a whopping 2,284 pounds. All of a sudden, our street-legal go-kart is approaching the weight of some real cars. This'll be interesting. So the question is, will this additional weight affect the performance and fuel economy of our car as we roll through the countryside on an epic journey to find the perfect place for a picnic? Well, let's find out. Despite being a 4-door French family cruiser, well, we may actually have some issues loading up the car. Up front, we have a limited amount of space for a passenger, and that's concerning. Now, out back, we do have a lot more space since we removed the seat last summer. The seat is actually in decent condition, and it was removed to keep it from getting damaged. Anyway, without the seat, we do have a lot of cargo space. Now, if that isn't enough space, we do have a massive trunk on this car. Since this is a Renault 10, it has a much bigger trunk than its predecessor, the Renault 8. Alright, well, let's see if I can fit my family in this little car. Fast forward a few minutes and we've made some progress. Rocky and the dog are taking up most of the space back here. Oh, who's a good doggy? That's right. Up front, we have Sandy riding shotgun, and basically we've pretty much filled this car. So Jackie's going to get to ride in the trunk, which I'm sure will be fun. Now, what concerns me is Jackie is 133 pounds, and that seems like a lot of weight to be putting over the front axle. But there's still plenty of suspension travel, so let's just assume it'll be okay. Alright, let's go for a ride. Reverse gear in the transmission still isn't working, and perhaps I'll fix that someday, but not today. Anyway, normally this car is super easy to push, however today I feel like I'm putting in a lot more effort. Now that makes perfect sense since the car is fully loaded. I reckon if we apply science to my observations, well, it's likely that the car will use more fuel, and that's a problem. You see, this car only has provisions for 2.5 gallons of gasoline. I think this is what the EV folks refer to as range anxiety. So just in case, let's go ahead and pack an extra 2 gallons of gasoline and we can put that in the trunk with Jackie. Okay, now we're ready for the French family holiday in Kansas. Let's see how this little lawnmower powered car handles the extra weight. Let's see how the car handles a few bumps in the road. This reminds me of the one scene in the movie Bullet, except this car isn't going as fast. Yep, I can definitely tell the car's a lot heavier, but it seems to handle the extra weight just fine. So far, so good. I have to admit I was a little bit concerned with this experiment, but the extra weight actually makes the car ride better. And as a bonus, the interior is slightly quieter. This is just a happy little car. It likes to be driven around town, and it has no problem zipping along on country roads. It's kinda like the Cadillac of street legal go-karts. Let's see how it does on the open road. Yeah, the car is a bit sluggish, but the CVT drive seems to be able to handle the extra load as far as getting the car up to speed. At some point, we will have to pull over and do a quick inspection of the CVT drive belt because, anyway, the parts we're using for the CVT drive are rated for the power output of the engine, and we've had no issues since we rebuilt the system last summer, but... So on this fuel economy test, we're going to be keeping the speed between 50 and 55 miles per hour because, well, that's the speed limit of most of the roads we'll be traveling on. This car can go a lot faster, but it's a bit scary. You know, I don't even think Chuck Yeager has the guts to take this thing past 70 miles per hour, but I believe this car would do it no problem. Fuel economy tests are my least favorite things to do, especially since this car wasn't built for fuel economy. You see, it's more of a race car than anything else. Oh, perhaps it would be a good idea to see how the brakes work. Yep, I can definitely tell the car is a lot heavier. Now, this car is a bit of a hoopty, but the brakes and tires are new. Now, it's hard to say what these cars were like back in the day, and for some reason, Renault fitted this car with four-wheel disc brakes, which is impressive for a car of this vintage. For the fuel economy run, I basically use the same course I do for all the cars I test. For the most part, it's just wide open roads, but I do have to stop occasionally. Well, sounds like the dog wants to get out for a bathroom break, so let's pull over and check the drive system. Well, the front suspension seems to be holding up, and I guess that's good. The drive belt is also holding up fine, which was one of my many concerns. This seems like a good spot for a picnic, and I'm sure the family would like to get out and stretch their legs, if they had any. Well, this was a mistake, and what I mean by that is, this picnic is a complete disaster. Yep, it turns out that nobody's hungry except for me. Oh well, I reckon we can use this time to talk about the fuel economy. Now, I want to say right up front, the method we use to determine fuel economy is super accurate, so the numbers I report are not in question. Now, today we traveled a total of 31.1 miles, and it took exactly 0.898 gallons, and that calculates to 34.63 miles to the gallon. So, yeah, I find that disturbing because the last time we checked the fuel economy, and that's without any ballast, well, we got 34.47 miles to the gallon. So the numbers do check out, and with the extra weight, we actually got slightly better fuel economy. Now, as most of you know, this is likely impossible, and the only thing I can figure is we did tune and synchronize the carburetors in the last video, and perhaps the time we spent tuning the engine paid off. The extra weight is definitely a burden on the engine for acceleration, but once we get up to speed, the engine seems happy, and given that there are no hills in Kansas, we pretty much are driving on flat level roads. I reckon we should push our luck and see how fast this car can accelerate on our drag race test. Okay, the time to beat is 21.46 seconds for the 0 to 50 and 27.36 seconds for the 0 to 55. I can guarantee this car won't come close to those numbers. Well, the extra weight cost us about 6 seconds for the 0 to 50 and close to 9 seconds for the 0 to 55. So, despite our better fuel economy numbers, the extra weight had a negative effect on the acceleration performance. Really, I can't say that wasn't expected. So, let's try that again, and this time we'll start the car off in second gear. Now, keep in mind, starting off in a lower gear upsets the way the CVT drive works, and we don't get all the magical benefits of a full range of the continuous variable transmission from 0 to 55 miles per hour. Plus, we'll waste precious time shifting the transmission, which is not easy on this car since it doesn't have a conventional clutch. The time to beat is 27.68 seconds for the 0 to 50 and 36.67 seconds for the 0 to 55. Well, shucks, I guess that was a bust. You see, the way the CVT works on this buggy is, once it goes through its full range, it doesn't reset when I let off on the accelerator to change gears. And when I shifted from second to third gear, we lost all the benefits of the CVT drive. Basically, once I was in third gear, we didn't have any torque multiplication, which is the primary benefit of using a CVT drive. Normally, the car is only a few seconds slower when I start off in second gear, but today, with the extra weight, we can really see the benefit of using a CVT in a car that doesn't have a lot of power to begin with. Now, personally, I despise CVT transmissions in real cars because they simply won't last the lifetime of the vehicle. However, on this car, it's no big deal. If the belt wears out, well, it only takes 20 minutes to slap in a new one and the car is back on the road. Anyway, let's head back to the shop and unload the family. I'm not a big fan of the extra ballast, and I'm sure the car doesn't like it either.
Are we there yet? Are we there yet?
Alright, we made it back to the shop and the little engine is still running. You know, sometimes I wonder if I abuse this car too much. It'll be fine. Let's check out the drive belt. I reckon if it survived this, it'll survive anything. Oh, it looks perfect. Normally, if there are problems, we would see a buildup of belt debris on the engine cradle, and it looks like the belt is completely undamaged. You know, this engine's only 22 horsepower in stock form, and perhaps with the twin carburetors, we may be in the high 20s, so not really a lot of power. The CVT drive is rated for a lot more power, and now I'm starting to believe it. I reckon at this point, I should really look into the transmission issues and find out why the gearbox won't shift into reverse. Now, according to the manual, I can gain access to the internal shift mechanisms by removing this aluminum housing in front of the transmission. Once the cover's removed, we'll be able to actually see the gizmo that connects to the reverse shift fork. Unfortunately, the service manual doesn't actually show what's under the cover, but I have an idea what to expect. I feel like this car really needs to have a working reverse, and it might actually be a simple fix. If you made it this far into the video, thanks for hanging in there. And if you found this video entertaining, perhaps you could click on the like button. Of course, if you're not subscribed already, please consider clicking on the subscribe button. And if you want to provide support for this channel, think about becoming a patron. I truly appreciate all the support from my patrons, and the link to my patron page is in the video description. I had fun today, and I hope you did as well. And we'll see you next time. Until then. Oh, who's a good doggy? That's right.